All right, everyone, get ready, because today we're diving into a topic that's, well, it's about all of us, really.
It is.
It's evolution, but I don't just want to talk about the basics.
Right.
We're going deep with this.
Yeah.
We're using excerpts from Understanding Evolution, How Species Change and Survive, to really unpack how this force, how evolution shapes everything around us.
And
ourselves.
Yeah.
It's wild to think that, like, the same thing that gave giraffes their long necks is still happening today.
It's amazing to me. I mean, when you think about it, the very process that did that is constantly happening all around us.
It's not just ancient history.
Wow.
It's like right now, it's current.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Okay.
How did we go from those single-celled organisms, the very beginning, to the incredible diversity of life that we see today?
So it all boils down to this idea, this concept of populations changing over time.
Okay.
And the book uses this analogy of a bird flock to illustrate this. And I always like this analogy.
Right.
Imagine a flock of birds, right? But they have these subtle variations in their beak size.
Okay, so like some birds have like slightly...
Just a fraction of an inch longer.
Okay, so slight differences, but what makes that significant in the grand scheme of things?
So imagine if those birds with the just slightly longer beak can access insects that are hidden a little deeper in the tree bark.
Oh, so they get more food.
They get more food.
They're healthier.
They're healthier. They probably have more chicks as a result.
Right.
And then those chicks inherit that advantageous beak.
Okay.
So over generations, that tiny difference.
It can become widespread
Wow.
and change the entire bird population's average beak size.
Okay.
That's evolution in action.
Okay.
These small incremental changes adding up over massive amounts of time.
So that makes sense for small adaptations.
Right.
Like a slightly longer beak.
Sure.
But how do we get from that to like entire new species branching out?
Right.
That's where it always gets a little fuzzy for me.
That's where Darwin's theory of natural selection comes in.
Okay.
It's like the missing puzzle piece.
Okay.
So imagine a population of moths.
Okay.
Some are light-colored and some are dark-colored.
All right.
And if they live on these lichen-covered trees, the light moths are camouflaged. They're practically invisible to predators.
Totally. They blend right in.
But what happens if pollution darkens the trees?
Oh, then the light moths. Suddenly
They stick out like a sore thumb.
they're easy targets.
Yeah, survival of the fittest, right?
Exactly. The darker moths are now better camouflaged. They're more likely to survive, reproduce,
Right.
and pass on those genes for darker coloration.
Okay.
So Darwin identified 4 key elements at play here. First, you have variation within a species, just like with our moths.
Okay.
Second, these traits, they're often heritable, meaning they're passed down through generations.
Right, makes sense.
Third, there's this differential survival and reproduction. So those individuals that are better suited to the environment, they thrive.
They win.
Exactly. And finally, over time, those advantageous traits become more and more common in the population.
So it's not just about being the strongest.
No.
It's about being the best fit for
Exactly.
whatever the environment is.
The best fit for your environment, yeah.
It's like nature's always running these experiments
That's a great way to put it.
and seeing what works, what survives.
I like that. I like that a lot. And it highlights why Darwin's insights were so revolutionary.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. He figured all of this out without even knowing about DNA.
That's wild. So knowing what we know now about DNA,
Yeah.
how does that factor into evolution?
It's actually incredible. DNA is like the language of evolution.
Okay.
Each gene, you can think of it like a sentence containing instructions for building and running an organism.
So if DNA is the language, then mutations are like...
Ooh, I like where you're going with this.
typos.
Exactly.
Okay.
Most mutations are harmless. Some might cause a slight change. And very rarely, a mutation will come along that leads to a beneficial trait, like our moth's darker coloration.
Oh, yeah?
And those are the changes that natural selection can really act on.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So natural selection is like this editing force
I like that.
shaping species
Over time.
and then
Yeah.
mutations are adding these little typos.
Little typos. Yeah, exactly.
That might just change everything.
They can change the whole story.
What I'm realizing now is this isn't just about textbooks and fossils.
No.
It's about us.
Absolutely.
Our DNA carries the story of evolution.
Absolutely. We are each a product of millions of years of adaptation,
Wow.
carrying the legacy of countless ancestors.
It's in our cells.
It's all right there.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot to take in.
It is pretty amazing, yeah.
But natural selection's a big player.
Huge, yeah.
But it's not the only thing that shapes evolution.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not the only thing.
What else is going on?
So there are a few other fascinating characters on the evolutionary stage.
Okay.
One of them is genetic drift,
Okay.
which is essentially chance events impacting a population, especially smaller ones.
Chance events.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not about survival of the fittest. It's just about being in the right place
Sometimes it's just about luck.
at the right time.
Exactly.
Wow.
Imagine a wildfire wipes out most of a population.
Oh, wow.
The survivors, they might not be inherently better adapted. They
Right.
just got lucky.
Wow.
But their genes now form the basis of the new population.
Wow. So a little bit of luck can really shake things up.
It really can. We call this the bottleneck effect.
Bottleneck effect. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to remember that one.
And then you've also got gene flow, which is all about migration
Okay.
and interbreeding between populations.
Gotcha.
Think of it as like mixing ingredients.
Okay.
It can introduce new variations into a population's gene pool.
So it's not just about adapting to one environment.
Right.
It's about how different groups, they
Interact.
yeah.
Exactly.
Share information over time.
It's all interconnected.
That's incredible.
It is incredible. And it's this interplay of natural selection, mutation, genetic drift, and gene flow that creates this astonishing biodiversity that we see on Earth.
Wow. That's amazing.
It is pretty amazing.
It really feels like evolution is this dance, right?
Yeah.
Between adaptation and chance.
I like that.
And DNA is like the music. But if evolution is always happening,
Right.
how does that play into what's going on today
Right.
with like climate change?
That's such a crucial point because climate change is essentially putting evolution into overdrive.
Oh,
Because as these environments are changing rapidly, species need to adapt even faster than ever before to survive.
yeah. It's like the game of survival just got kicked up like 1,000 notches.
Exactly. And this is where understanding these concepts, these mechanisms, adaptation, natural selection, it becomes crucial.
Yeah.
Not just for understanding the past, but for making informed decisions about conservation and the future.
So by studying how species have adapted historically,
Yeah,
we can maybe predict what's going to happen
absolutely.
and mitigate the impacts of something like climate change.
Precisely. And, a great example of this is the evolution of antibiotic resistance in bacteria.
Oh, yeah.
The overuse of antibiotics creates this incredibly strong selective pressure.
Right.
It favors those bacteria with mutations that make them resistant.
Oh, wow. So it's natural selection, but we're kind of driving it.
And it's happening right under our noses.
That's wild.
And it's a stark reminder that we are a part of this system, not separate from it.
We're not just observing it.
Right.
We are a part of it.
Our actions have a ripple effect on the evolutionary trajectories of countless species.
Wow.
Take, for example, Darwin's finches in the Galapagos.
Oh, yeah. Darwin's finches.
Classic example of evolution in action.
The birds with all the different beak shapes,
Exactly.
depending on what they eat
Yeah.
on the different islands.
Yeah. Precisely. So Darwin observed that although these finches share a common ancestor, their beaks have adapted over generations to the specific food sources on each island.
Right.
So finches on islands with lots of seeds evolved these thicker, stronger beaks for cracking them open,
Okay.
while those on islands with more insects developed thinner beaks for probing into flowers.
It's amazing. It's like they have the perfect tool for the job.
Perfectly adapted.
Yeah.
And what's even more fascinating is that scientists have observed these evolutionary changes happening in real time.
Really?
Studies have documented how finch populations have adapted to events like droughts or the introduction of new predators.
Wow. So we're not just talking about something that happened millions of years ago. It's like right now,
It's an ongoing process.
in our lifetime.
Yeah, isn't that incredible?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I have to admit, for a long time, I thought evolution was just this like abstract concept. You learn it in school,
I hear that a lot, yeah.
but like you don't really connect it to your daily life. But this is anything but abstract.
Right.
It's like
It's very real.
it's everything.
It's woven into the very fabric of who we are
Yeah.
and everything around us.
So to understand our place in the world, to
Yeah.
understand how we connect to nature,
It's a huge part of the story.
we have to know about evolution.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we're not separate from nature. We're part of this grand interconnected web of life,
Wow.
shaped by the same forces that have been at play for billions of years.
That's amazing.
It is pretty amazing.
It's also a little terrifying,
It
right?
can be, yeah.
Because it's like all of our problems just seem to melt away
It puts things in perspective.
when you think about that.
Yeah, for sure.
So this has been really eye-opening.
Good.
For me, and I'm sure for our listeners too.
I hope so.
Before we wrap up, though,
Yeah.
from your research and everything you've learned,
Right.
What's something about evolution that, like, really surprised you?
You know what still gets me is the sheer scale of time
Yeah.
involved in evolution. I mean, we're talking about processes that unfold over millions, even billions of years.
Right.
It's humbling
Yeah.
to think that we're just seeing a tiny snapshot of this grand, ongoing narrative.
Like we're trying to understand the history of civilization, but we only have access to, like, a couple of scrolls.
That's a great
Like little bits here and there.
Yeah, and even with all that we've learned, there's still so much we don't know about evolution.
Oh, I'm sure.
Every discovery opens up a dozen new questions.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
That's really cool.
It is, it is.
So this has made me think about,
Yeah,
where do we fit in,
right.
humans, in this whole grand evolutionary story?
That's a question that has captivated thinkers for centuries.
It has.
It has. And I think understanding evolution challenges us to view ourselves differently,
Okay.
not as separate from nature,
Right.
but as a product of it, intertwined with every other living thing on this planet.
It's awe-inspiring,
It is.
but also kind of terrifying.
It can be a lot to wrap your mind around.
It is. It's a lot.
It is.
But it also makes you realize how insignificant some of our problems are.
It really puts things into perspective.
It really does. And it fills me with this, like, sense of wonder.
Me too.
It's really cool.
It's humbling and it's awe-inspiring.
It is.
And it underscores the importance of curiosity,
Yeah.
of continuing to explore and learn about these forces that have shaped life as we know it.
Yeah, I totally agree. So to wrap things up, what would you say is, like, the one big takeaway
Okay, one big take.
that our listeners should keep in mind from this whole deep dive on evolution?
Okay, one thought-provoking idea.
Yeah,
Evolution is not just something that happened in the past.
right.
It's happening right now, all around us.
Yeah.
Even within our own bodies. Every breath we take, every beat of our hearts is a testament to this incredible, ongoing journey of life.
Wow, that's a really
Pretty amazing.
beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing to think about.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
This has really made me think about where we fit in, humans,
Mm-hmm.
in this whole grand evolutionary story.
It's a question that I think, people have been thinking about for centuries.
Right, right.
And I think understanding evolution challenges us to view ourselves differently.
Okay.
Not as separate from nature, but as a product of it.
Okay.
As intertwined with every other living thing on this planet.
Yeah. Yeah, when you really start to think about it, it's awe-inspiring.
It is.
But it's also kind of terrifying.
It can be a lot to wrap your mind around.
It is. It's a lot.
It is.
But it makes you realize that all these, like, little insignificant problems we have,
Right.
they kind of melt away when you think about the grand scheme of things.
It really puts things into perspective.
It does. And I think it also, for me anyway, it gives me this, like, this sense of wonder about it all,
It is humbling and it's awe-inspiring at the same time.
Yeah, totally.
And it really underscores the importance of curiosity,
It does.
of continuing to explore and learn about these forces that have shaped life as we know it.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
So if we could leave our listeners with one big takeaway from this whole deep dive on evolution, what would it be? What's that one, like, mind-blowing idea?
One mind-blowing idea.
Yeah.
Evolution is not just something that happened in the past.
Right.
It's happening right now.
It's now.
All around us, even within our own bodies.
Wow.
Every breath we take, every beat of our heart is a testament to this incredible ongoing journey of life.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
It's pretty amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap up this deep dive into the world of evolution.
I think so.
To our listeners, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
We hope this has sparked your curiosity and that you'll continue to learn and explore this incredible process that connects us all.
Absolutely.
Until next time, stay curious, everyone.
Keep those minds hungry for knowledge.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.